Rachel Tiemeyer.
Hi, I'm Polly Conner.
And we are Team Thriving Home, and we are so glad you're here today. We are going to be making 6 freezer meals in just 1 hour using our 1 hour freezer prep.
Woohoo! Yes, so if you don't have this already, you can find them at onehourfreezerprep.com. And this is session 1. Now let me tell you what comes in every freezer prep session. It is just packed full of information that you need to make 6 meals in an hour. So we have, of course, all the recipes you're going to make. We have side dish ideas. We have mix it up ideas. We have a shopping list for you that's categorized so you can just either easily put it in online or at the store, go down each section and know exactly what you need. We have equipment lists. You can get everything out like you can see that we have here. Just so you can do it all so fast. And then, most importantly, we have the 1 hour step-by-step instructions. So we have worked through, we've had a whole team with us work through the most efficient way to pull all these recipes together in less than an hour.
Yep.
We also have freezer meal labels. So we have these all pre-printed and ready for you to slap on the meals. And what else do we have, Rach? The individual recipes.
Yes. And we make it a no-brainer for you. You don't have to put any thought into it. Just do what we say step by step, and you're going to have 6 meals in no time. And today we are working through prep session number 1. You'll find a link to it below. And let me tell you what we're making. So we have 3 recipes, and we're going to double each of those recipes. Our first recipe is our oven-baked Parmesan Chicken Tenders. These are delicious. And my favorite thing, Polly, about these, as you know, is they go straight from the freezer to the oven.
They are a great meal if you totally forgot that you need to make dinner.
Yes, absolutely. And they're so much healthier than the ones you would pick up in the freezer section at the store as well.
Same concept as the ones you would buy at the freezer, but just homemade with real food ingredients.
Exactly. They taste awesome too.
Yeah.
Second one that we're making is our Meaty Marinara sauce. And this I love because there's so much versatility with it. You can serve it over whole grain pasta, gluten-free pasta, spaghetti squash, zoodles.
It also can be cooked in the slow cooker or the Instant Pot. We have instructions for both of those too.
Absolutely. Lots of versatility with that one, and that is a family favorite of ours. It's delicious. The third one are ham and cheese sliders, and I know, Polly, this is a favorite of your family.
It is a Conner family favorite for sure. My son Tyler asks for these almost every week. So it's just like a sweet, savory glaze that goes over a ham and cheese slider. They're so easy. They make a great appetizer or dinner. Just
all right, I think it's time to get cooking.
Woo, let's do it.
So, high fives.
Yes, let's go.
We're going to start with step 1. You'll find that on page 5 of session 1. And what I'm going to do is we're going to prep the veggies for our Meaty Marinara sauce to begin. So I got to get chopping on some onions.
Yes. So Rachel is going to show us a onion chopping tip. So if you've never cut your onion this way, your life is about to be changed. Okay.
And I want to teach you something new I have learned recently from Rachel Ray as well. But so every onion you get has a root end and it's got like the stalk end. I've cut off the stalk or the top end. I've left the root intact. Now I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise through that root and leave that root there. I'm going to peel off this outer skin. And then I'm going to show you, like Polly said, a way to dice this that's super easy. It's easier than I've even showed you before.
Ooh,
okay?
I'm excited to learn.
Yeah, so let's double check this works. But Rachel Ray, I trust you. I mean, do you watch Rachel Ray?
We don't have their channel. So we only have
don't?
Roku. Yeah.
I have watched her. I feel like she taught me to cook. I watched her for 20.
She's so approachable.
Has she been on 20 years? I feel like I want to go on her show
Our dream
someday.
is to be on Rachel.
We want to be on the Rachel Ray show. All right, back to the onions. So I have this peeled. So here's what she told us to do.
Can I peel this one for you just to
get please do.
Okay.
I'm going to make some sticks. So I'm going to take the tip of my very sharp chef's knife. This is my favorite chef's knife, by the way, that you'll find a link to it below. And I'm going to make some sticks, but I'm not going to go all the way through the root, okay? So across the onion, watch your fingers, don't get your fingers in the way, and I've made some sticks like that. Now, previously I've taught you to make planks going this way, sawing that way.
I always did the planks first.
I'm not doing that today. I'm skipping that step. It's a 2-step, okay? Because here's what Rachel Ray says, is you've already got the onion layers in there. That does the job for you. So
all you gotta do is the planks?
All you have to do is the sticks.
Okay, so I need the sticks. Okay.
Yeah, here we go. And now I'm going across. I'm going to curl my fingers.
Spider fingers. That's what I tell my kids.
Spider
fingers.
And so I'm doing a tiny dice on this because I don't like big chunks of onion in my meat sauce. But look, they're going to fall apart. See?
Yeah.
And so I think it's easier. They're not like as beautiful as my other technique, but
you're not chasing it around.
Not chasing around, and you've still got these small pieces that when you start to saute these, which we'll do in a minute, they really fall apart and become beautifully diced. So there you go. Saved you some time.
It does save a step, for sure.
Yeah. So here we go.
No, for sure, when I started cooking, I would just go after that onion and just...
Yeah.
I actually, for a long time, used the pantry or the Pampered Chef food chopper, vegetable chopper. Just put the onion in there, just boom, 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 boom. But then it would be almost like puree. Oh, really? I'd chop it so much, it'd be like an itty bitty pieces.
Yeah. And you can use your food processor, I guess, to do this too.
Okay, a couple tips on if you have tears while you're chopping onions. One I use is to chew mint gum while you do it. We had a reader tell us, did you see this? She said she heard if you stick your onions in the freezer for, just a few minutes before, just get them nice and cold before you chop them, that actually helps too. I thought
that's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a great tip.
I love that.
So if you ever have tips, I think it was on our last YouTube video that someone commented and said that. So I was like, I need to try that next time. So if you have to chop a lot of onions, that might be a great thing to do rather than the gum thing. Because the gum thing will help like for a little bit, but then the onion aroma will get you.
For sure. So this meat sauce, I consider this sneaky nutrition. I'm getting onions in here. I'm getting some garlic. Oops, I almost did my old method.
The old school
I almost did my old method. Going back to my sticks here. Thank you, Rachel Ray. Giving her a plug. All right. So we're going to saute these veggies, and we think this is a super important step on freezer meals a lot of times. And people ask us like, why don't you just throw raw onion in your freezer meal recipe? Right. And we don't do that very often.
No, most of the times we just find that a raw onion just won't get fully cooked. And also releases a lot of flavor. When you start sauteing it, it softens the onion, it releases flavor. It just makes your meals a lot more tasty. And we think that's one of the big difference about our freezer meals versus a lot you'll find online. Yes, we do maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of time, but we find those steps to be so important and take your meal from very mediocre to really, really tasty. So we don't want to just bag up meals and just serve you mediocre food, right? We really take these steps and really take it seriously to make these good. So we don't want to waste your time. We don't want you to put a meal on the table that everyone's going to be like,
I know, for sure. All right, I've completed step 1. I've chopped all my veggies, and I'm starting step 2. Cook the veggies and meat for the sauce. So I'm going to take my veggies over to the stove area. I've got 2 tablespoons of avocado oil already getting hot on my stove over medium-high heat, and I'm using avocado oil. This is my favorite cooking oil. You could use olive oil or another kind of cooking oil, but this is a nice neutral oil. It's healthy, has a high smoking point, which you want. So I've got that heated. I know it's hot because it's shimmery, and I'm gonna throw my onions and garlic in there. Yeah. So I'm using this food mover of Polly's, actually. We should link.
Yeah, this is my kitchen, by the way.
we should link to this.
Yeah, we will. We use that a lot. I use that for moving fruit. Like anytime I chop veggies, I use it. Or when I make cinnamon rolls, I use it to scrape off all the flour on my counter. And it's also been used to clean up little toys. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so I'm not putting my garlic in yet because I'm gonna do that at the end. I want to get my onions started, and they're going to saute for about 4 minutes. You want them to get nice and soft and get a little caramelization on them.
Start to release their liquid a little bit.
Yeah, this is looking good. The other thing I do, and I learned this from America's Test Kitchen, is to season your veggies along the way. So I'm going to season lightly with salt and pepper, and I'm going to add in our red pepper flakes. Actually, we'll do that in the next step with the meat, but I am going to go ahead and season with a little bit of salt, and I kind of I do this lightly because I don't want to over salt, but a little pepper and a little salt is great. So these take about 4 minutes. At the end of their cook time, I'm going to add in my garlic so that garlic doesn't get burned. Right. So garlic takes like 30 to 60 seconds.
Make sure you're stirring it as you add it in too. Don't let it just sit.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to get to work on that.
All right, we'll check back in 4 minutes.
Okay, we're still on step 2. My onions and garlic are done, and it's time to put in the ground pork. You could also sub ground chicken sausage. I say ground pork sausage. You could do ground turkey sausage, ground chicken sausage. I've got lean ground beef. You could also sub in lean ground turkey or ground chicken for that as well. And I'm going to start breaking these up and sauteing this meat. And this step takes roughly 5 to 7 minutes to get your meat fully cooked. And while that meat cooks, I'm going to season it lightly with some salt and pepper and with our red pepper flakes. That is called for in step 2, part 2. Now, when this meat is done, and I'm going to be working on it for a little bit, when it's done, you're going to drain that grease off using a colander over a big bowl.
Now here's my trick that I've learned is that I put paper towels in the bottom of the bowl that I'm draining the meat off into. That way it soaks up that grease. You don't end up dumping plain grease in the trash can. Now one big rule is you don't dump grease down your sink because it will kind of coat your plumbing a little bit. So what you're supposed to do is throw it away. I just find that's the easiest way to throw it away. So.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I like that.
So I'll put this over here for you.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Now, a great idea is while this is browning, you don't have to stand over it the whole time. You can go ahead and skip ahead, and we recommend this to step 3. So Polly's going to show you step 3.
Yep, just to make this go faster. Sometimes you can kind of multitask while your meat's cooking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my freezer meal labels to the bags. Now we've made a lot of freezer meals in our life. We've found it's so much easier to attach your labels to the bag, or even write on the bag before you have the food in it, because once that food's in it, it's going to be hot and it's just going to start, it just gets trickier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to take these meals. I like to use packing tape. Regular tape will work fine, but just, again, it's kind of like, it just stays on better. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on all 4 of these.
Now, we also have other ways you can freeze it if you don't want to use disposable bags, right? Show them those containers right in front of you.
Yes, for sure. You don't have to use bags. So for example, for the meat sauce or any of these meals, the chicken tenders, you can use reusable solid containers like that.
We really like those Anchor hockey.
Yep. So the lids, I'll show you, they kind of have a see my name on them. The lids kind of have a flexibility to them. They slide on really easy. I like that you can see through the top of them too.
Yeah.
And so you could also just slap your label on the top right there. And then of course you can stack them up in the fridge. There's also
we'll link to those.
Yes,
as well.
so those will be in the notes below. And then they also have reusable silicone bags. I haven't gotten into those yet. I want to. There's called stasher bags. So if you really want to go with the bag route, because that does save some room in the freezer, because you want to freeze these flat, so then you can stack them. So
and you'll get your money's worth on those eventually. It
right.
might take a while.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Better for the environment.
Yep. So that is step 3. Make sure you have completed that and your bags are ready to go.
Okay, we just completed step 3. Our meat has sauteed with the onions back here. I drained it and I set it aside to cool.
Smells really good.
It does smell good.
We're getting hungry. Okay, so we are now on step 4. We are going to assemble our ham and cheese sliders. Okay, I can hear my son Tyler getting excited all the way from school right now. Okay, so the first step on ham and cheese sliders is to make the sauce. So Rachel is going to go ahead and get that assembled in a medium saucepan or small saucepan.
Small saucepan.
Yes, small saucepan. So she's going to put a stick of butter in there.
Yep.
Already did that. You're going to do the poppy seeds.
Yeah, a tablespoon of poppy seeds. You can find these in the just spice aisle.
Yeah. Poppy seeds. And she's doing the dry, this is just a little cooking tip. She's doing the dry ingredients first. That way she didn't have to use different tablespoons.
Yeah, I just figured that out.
Right, exactly. So brown sugar, that's what's going to make the sauce really kind of sweet and caramelized once it gets in a boil, which is really yummy. So
six of those.
6 tablespoons of the brown sugar. And after that, we're going to do, Worcestershire.
I know. Who knows how to say that? Worcestershire.
I try spelling it.
I actually learned how to spell it when we were doing our cookbook. I had to do it so many times. Okay, I got my Worcestershire.
I always let autocorrect fill it in for me. I'm like, if I get the first 3 letters or something.
Yeah, Polly in our team is like design queen and make projects happen queen. And I'm like, editor,
Rachel's
spelling.
Make sure it actually looks good. Yep.
Make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1 tablespoon of
Now
Dijon
we get a lot of
mustard.
questions. You can leave the Dijon out. Some people are like, if my kids aren't going to go for mustard,
Really?
yeah.
I don't think it's
I've left it out.
mustardy.
I don't need to either, but I'm just saying people ask that question.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Rachel's going to get that going in the back here. Now, here's the tip with that sauce. You do not want to overcook it. So, keep a close eye on it. If I wasn't on camera, I would be back here making my sandwiches so I could watch my sauce, because as soon as it comes to a boil, you want to remove it from the heat. I made the mistake of letting it boil for a few minutes. I forgot about it, and it was like, that could have pulled it apart. Like, it was so
It kind of
thick.
turns into like caramel.
Yes, it's like, it'll like lock
That
your jaws.
sugar.
I'm not joking. It gets
and
thicker.
this only takes
as it
a few minutes.
Yes,
so I'll keep an eye on it.
Yes, it turns to a boil really fast. So just keep an eye on that. So while she's doing that, what I'm going to do is start assembling these sliders. Now, let's talk about the buns, okay? The store that I went to only had these brioche buns, but we do say in the recipe to use wheat buns, wheat slider buns. So it really just depends on what you can find. The recipe calls for 8 buns per serving. So I got 16 of them. Now here's one little trick. It kind of depends. If they come like this, where they're all connected, you can slice them all at once. That way it just saves a lot of time. Now sometimes they come pre-sliced, so you can just pull them apart real easy. But if not, you can just do that.
Hey, that's
Yay!
smart.
Now, I have been known to use even hamburger buns for these before. And that makes like 4 instead of 8.
Yeah.
But just, I used what I had on hand. So
Sure.
it has a lot of variety. So, and then here's what's nice too, is you just take the bottoms of these and put them, I'm gonna spray my dish.
Just to double check the cheese doesn't stick in the sauce.
Okay.
Easier for cleanup.
So another just little tip, I just put all the bottoms in there like that. Look at that. And then,
So smart.
yep, so if you were doing individual, you would just individually put on there. Since I have it all as kind of like one thing like this, I'm just gonna layer that with cheese. So we're totally going off the recipe here. What? But I want you to follow these instructions because most likely you're gonna have individual buns like this.
So you put cheese in the bottom and
I
over the top?
do. Again,
Okay.
this is like, I've just made this recipe so many times. This is just what I do, but you can, if the recipe
It
does,
works anyway.
it does. So if these were, as you can see, I'm just kind of putting these in. I tear the cheese up into smaller pieces too, just to make sure every slider gets.
It's like one of those pieces is too big for a bun, but
Right,
if
yeah.
you tear it up, you can use like
Yep.
3 of the torn pieces.
Now, if I wasn't on video, I probably would just lay these flat like this. Again.
Oh, seriously?
Oh yeah, because you just cut into it later. I would just lay them all flat like that,
interesting.
and then ham out, and then you just slice it.
Oh, wow.
So, but we're just gonna follow the rules here.
Yeah.
Just a little time-saving hack for you. So I would layer all this cheese out. And then with the cheese, we have provolone here. We also recommend using Swiss. I have used mozzarella before too. So any kind of that white cheese. I don't think these taste very good with like a cheddar or
quite right.
it needs to be almost like
This
kind of,
already came to a boil. I mean, that was like a minute and a
yeah,
half,
it's
2
fast.
minutes.
Yep.
So I'm pulling that off the heat, and we'll just let it chill back here.
Yep. Okay, so same thing with the ham, and I would layer a layer of ham on each slider too. And I personally like to just put a little bit more cheese on the top of that ham. You don't have to. It'll work fine without it, but that just gives it helps mine stick together.
So like you would take a piece of ham and kind of do that. Like that's kind of what I did the last time I made these. I folded it a couple ways. So I did 2. Is that about right?
Yep. And then also, this is a great recipe to use up leftover like honey baked ham. So if you have like from Easter or a holiday and you have that thicker ham, just one layer of that, you could also make that
That's
with
a
these
really
too.
good idea.
So I've done that just to
Have
use
you
up
ever
those
made
leftovers.
it with turkey or roast beef before?
You know, we get a lot of questions for
We
that.
do.
I have not, just because I just like ham. But people who've done turkey said they like it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it could be, you know.
I could even see roast beef, maybe, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know, if you try it, let us know.
Yeah.
We always say, we're always learning from you guys.
Yep. So we're going to finish assembling these, and then we'll check back in and show you what to do with the sauce after that. Okay, I've got all my sandwiches assembled here. Now, if you took a shortcut like me and just put the cut of bread on top, I went through and I individually sliced these. That way that sauce can kind of sneak in between each slider, so it can kind of soak into the sliders. So also, we say the instructions, spoon the sauce over that. I'm just kind of cheating. If you want to create another dish like me, I find it easier to pour these right over the top. Now, one question we get a lot about this recipe is, does it make the sandwiches soggy, especially after freezing and thawing and baking? Surprisingly, it just doesn't. Now, the sauce is supposed to soak into the bread a little bit, but it doesn't do it so much that it makes it just soggy and like inedible. You know, it does it just perfectly, gives it that flavor.
It gets toasted up in the oven and hot and melty and crispy on top, right?
Yep.
So
that
looks good.
There you go. I just kind of evenly poured that sauce over. As you can see, I didn't like measure, you know, I didn't do it too specifically. But so then what I would do is I would either put foil over this, but I have these lidded baking dishes that I'm just going to, that Rachel's putting the labels on. And I'll put the lid on and I'll freeze them just like that. So we have the thawing instructions. in our 1 hour freezer prep session as well.
What's cool about these dishes is they can go straight from
Yes.
freezer, then you thaw in the refrigerator, and then you can throw it in the oven.
Yep.
And that, so.
Yep. So we'll just get these going, and then we're going to get set up for step 5.
Surprise! We're in a different kitchen. As you might have noticed, this is actually Rachel's kitchen. Now, we changed it because we updated the recipe to make it even better for you, and we wanted the video to match the updated recipe. So we're gonna redo this little part of the video in a nice, clean, white kitchen.
All right, so we are to step 5. We are working on the Parmesan Chicken Tenders. And this is a recipe that I worked on a lot, but Polly, you haven't had a chance to make this yet or try it yet. So she's gonna make it while I talk her through what we're doing. So this is kind of unusual, but one of the things I found in my tests is that the breading turned out so much better when we used panko breadcrumbs. But I found you had to blend them or use the food processor. So here's what we're gonna do. Polly, can you go ahead? Here, I'll switch places with you for a minute. Throw in 1.5 cups of panko breadcrumbs. So panko breadcrumbs are a very dry breadcrumb that are very crispy. They're Japanese breadcrumbs. You can find them in the store. Now, I was at the store this morning and I couldn't believe all the weird ingredients in most of these. So make sure you check the ingredients and get the ones that you recognize the most. Okay, second up. This is a ton of flavor. You're gonna add grated Parmesan cheese to this. It's 2/3 cup. Third cup is missing in my kitchen. It must be in the dishwasher if the kids used it.
If we do just a little.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite ingredients that we use in here. This is smoked paprika. Smell that for a second and tell me what you smell.
Smoky.
Yeah, it's very smoky. It kind of gives it like almost like a little barbecue flavor in the
Yeah.
background. It's subtle.
Yes.
So for that, you want 2 teaspoons
Okay.
of smoked paprika.
Okay.
If you can't find that, you can use regular paprika, but it really won't have that same punch to it.
1. Yeah, this adds a lot of flavor. And
I know.
smoked is different than the regular.
It really is. Okay, so now we're to garlic powder. And
But if you don't have smoked, it'll still be good.
Yeah.
If I've used regular paprika
I
and
told
this
her.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
1 teaspoon garlic powder. Gotta get a little garlic in there.
I think we have garlic powder like in every recipe
I
on
know.
our site. We love it.
You gotta have it in your pantry if you make thriving home recipes. And then I did add a little cayenne.
Okay.
Our family really felt like it needed it, so a 1/4 teaspoon of that. It's not too hot. It's just like a little tiny kick back there. It makes them interesting.
I'm on it.
Okay, so now, Polly, we're gonna pulse that. I'm using a blender. You can use a food processor. Just give it a few. Okay, it's getting very mixed up. It's almost there. It also blends it at the same time, which is awesome. Okay, so Polly has finished grinding up, blending up, processing the breadcrumb mixture, and it's gonna dump it in a shallow dish. So what we're doing here is we're setting up breading stations. We're gonna bread these chicken tenders so that they taste super great and crunchy. Now I have a whole bunch of chicken tenders over here. One of the keys to this recipe is seasoning the chicken tenders really well. So I'm going to do that while Polly does the next part here, which is you're gonna crack 2 eggs. Guys, these are my cute little farm fresh eggs.
There's even a feather on them.
Oh my gosh, needs to be washed.
Let's not use that.
Okay, let's not use that. Yeah, I got a really good deal on these from a gal in town for like $2.50 a dozen for farming.
That's great. That is good.
I know. So we're gonna crack 2 eggs, large eggs, and then put a splash of water. You can get that in my refrigerator behind you here. So a splash of water, and then just whisk that up really well, because what we're gonna do is dredge each chicken tender in this and then in the breading. Okay, so like I said, these chicken tenders, you want to season them with lots of salt and pepper on both sides. Here's your chicken tenders. We'll start by dumping them into the egg mixture. All right, so what I did while she's breading these, as you guys know, we put our labels on here and I've opened them. We're going to put these flat, in a layer flat, in each of our freezer bags. And then in between each layer, we've got parchment paper, and that's to separate them. And when you freeze them flat in the oven, or in the oven. Don't freeze them in the oven.
No, that wouldn't work.
Freeze them flat in the freezer. And then you can pull them out individually. Like, let's just say you had a few kids to feed one night or something. You just pull out whatever you need. So it's pretty awesome.
I love meals where you don't have to thaw the whole meal for it.
Totally.
Like it's a grab and go.
Yes.
It's one of those perfect ones for nights where kids have practices all different times and you want me to eat at different times. So
you want to start. So you're going to place them in there in a single layer. And it looks like you can get maybe, and you don't want them to stack on top of each other because when they freeze, they'll stick together. You're trying to make them like separate so they're easy to pull out individually.
All right.
And then
I think I can do a few
one
more
more
this way on top, and then I'll
Okay.
put the parchment
And
paper
then we'll
in.
put the parchment paper in. All right, so we are gonna continue to bread these. We're gonna stick them in our freezer bags, both of them, 12 in each freezer bag, and then we'll stick them in the freezer. We'll meet you back here for the next step. And we are going to package the meaty marinara sauce. So
Hey, one real quick tip
Yes.
though. Did you want to talk about the
Yeah,
era of those?
one of the things,
Yes. Okay, so our easy meaty marinara sauce is about to come together, and it's
Yes.
a really easy step. All you're gonna do is dump 2 jars of marinara in each of your freezer bags that you've already filled up, and then you're gonna split the meat sauce in half and dump it on top of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start dumping these in there. Again, this is where the bag holders come in handy, and these things are not expensive. They come in sets of 3 or 4, and they're just worth their weight in gold. Is that even in the freeze? Okay.
well, we also really like this shortcut of taking the marinara sauce. But one tip when you're selecting marinara sauce is do check the ingredients. I usually buy organic, and it's really affordable now. And you can get off-brand organic. But I just check to make sure there's no weird, additives, preservatives.
Just a good rule of thumb is the less ingredients, the better.
Right.
And I've also heard this before is if your grandma wouldn't recognize the ingredient,
Oh, I love that.
then you probably shouldn't eat it.
Exactly.
So that's when we say we try to cook with real foods as much as possible. That's what we mean. Now we realize like you're a busy person and sometimes you gotta take shortcuts. Like we're not gonna make our own tortillas. It's just don't have time for that in life. But when we can choose a marinara sauce with the least amount of ingredients, I'm gonna do it.
Yep. So now I'm just dividing up. Remember we made that meat and veggie mixture at the beginning. So I'm dividing that between the bags evenly, and then we'll kind of squish it together and mix it around and squeeze out all the air.
Yes. And we'll freeze these flat. That way when they're frozen, you can stack them up.
And that's for the slow cooker version. But if you have an Instant Pot, there's a better way.
Here's
to freeze.
a great tip. So after we finish up one of these, which one are we gonna finish
Let's
first?
see. Go ahead with that
This one? Okay. So if you have an Instant Pot and you want to make a freezer meal for the Instant Pot, here's the trick. Is you want to freeze it in a circular form. Now you can actually use your Instant Pot insert for that, or just a round bowl if this is occupied or doing something, or you need it for another reason. So if I'm freezing this, I would just put it in the pot like this. That way it's gonna freeze in that circular form. So then you're gonna have a frozen block of meaty marinara sauce.
You'll freeze it in there and then just like pull this out
take it
once
out.
it's solid.
Yes.
And it takes maybe
and just
overnight.
leave that in the freezer. Yeah, that probably takes, about 12 hours or so to really get something frozen up. Then when you want to freeze it, you're just going to dump that frozen block into the Instant Pot and follow our cooking instructions on how to cook it straight from frozen. So seriously, you can get home right before dinner, put it in an Instant Pot, push a button, and dinner will be done.
Right. So we teach you how to do that. But one thing we always say is please don't put frozen food directly in the slow cooker.
Right.
And that's not us saying that. That's the USDA. That's on their website. Until they change that, we're not going to change that recommendation ourselves. So do thaw it. We give thawing instructions
For the slow cooker.
All right.
You
We're
finished
done
step
with step
6.
6.
Yay. Congratulations! You just made 6 freezer meals.
In just 1 hour.
Your future self is going to thank you so much. So just as a reminder, you can find this prep session and so many more like it at onehourfreezerprep.com, and you can just stock your freezer and not have to worry about dinner anymore.
Absolutely. Okay, be sure to subscribe and join us in our next video. We'll see you there.
Bye guys.